Honorable Minister, our invited guest. The reason why we're gathered here today is as a result of an investigative hearing on the breach of Nigerian content and cabotage laws. A petition came before this House through the Honorable Speaker that was minuted to my committee. So as part of our investigations, we had summoned NNPC, and they came before us and made their presentations. We had also called the petitioners, who happen to be the Ship Owners Association of Nigeria, SWAN, and they came here and made their presentation. And before wrapping up our investigative hearing, it was important that we also hear from the Ministry of Transport or its agencies on what the issues are bordering this petition. So as a result of that, we invited the Ministry of Transport and they came here. So we want to hear from you what your thoughts are on this matter. Even though certain presentations had been made, as a National Assembly, as a responsible National Assembly, it behoves on us in investigations like this to ensure that our indigenous ship owners also take part in the process. So that is what we seek to achieve by this investigation. It's not a witch hunt. It's not to bring anybody down, but to ensure that some part of the proper thing is done substantially. So on this note, it's not going to be a lengthy hearing. I know the Honorable Minister has a lot of other things to attend to. So we'll call on the Honorable Minister.
If we had not come before. Honestly, if I saw it, we may have sent it to NIMASA because it's the appropriate agency to address the issue of cabotage. What happens, if you ask the chairman of the Committee on Maritime, is that the National Assembly don't appropriate too much money for us. The actual money for maritime goes to those agencies. So they are mostly held accountable on the implementation of the laws passed by the National Assembly as it affects maritime. So I would gladly say to you that I'll be excused. There's a permanent secretary here, but the DG will then speak because that's his area. If there is a need to request my reappearance for the committee, I'll be glad to reappear. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, basically issues to do with voyages or contracts being awarded by NNPC to non-Nigerian ship owners. And that in itself flaunts or violates the Cabotage Act as passed by this National Assembly. To that effect is the fact that we found that a whole lot of vessels owned by foreign companies, most of them, if not all of them, are all foreign flagged. They're all given the contracts, while Nigerian flagged vessels do not have the opportunity to operate within the coastal waters, which is the cabotage regime of the Act. That's the bone of contention, Mr. Chairman. Well, we, as NIMASA, we process waivers where there are shortfalls, because sometimes the kind of vessels that may be needed for moving these products may not readily be available in country. Therefore, if there's any vessel that is not a Nigerian flagged vessel, that is a foreign vessel that has to come in to perform that particular act, will have to be granted a waiver, which will be processed by NIMASA and then passed on to the Honorable Minister of Transportation for approval. We can only process, but we don't approve. But what has happened is that they have taken this processed document, when they pay the receipts after processing, and flashed them as waivers to either an NNPC or wherever the operators are, and give them the leverage to operate within our coastal waters. However, there's a marine notice which, as of January 2019, which was issued to the effect that all the IOCs, NNPC, and indeed any operator should, for any marine logistics, should clear with NIMASA to have a letter or certificate of no objection to enable them engage foreign flagged vessels. However, this also has been flaunted most of the time, and that has given rise to why these persons do not, the local operators do not enjoy the patronage of NNPC and indeed some other IOCs and operators within the cabotage regime. But it's a big problem because the Nigerian ship owners spend money to import their vessels. Only for them to get here, they'll have to pay custom and excise duties. And at the end of the day, they don't get patronized. Meanwhile, foreign vessels come, they charter them for, let me use the word pittance, come here, pay a paltry $51,000 to NIMASA when they get granted processed waivers, and they go and get the juicy jobs. If you do an extrapolation of what it comes to in a month, you'll be shocked at what they take away in foreign exchange. Meanwhile, the local operators do not have that same opportunity. And that has been the reason why this has been, the investigations have gone through, and the Honorable Chairman, it's before your committee to do the needful.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much. We take it that as under NIMASA, and for NNPC, it will be important for us to see some documentation of the so-called waivers submitted to this committee. So we want to, as a committee, or before I wrap up, does any member have any clarification to seek or any questions to briefly ask? No. Okay, so I go ahead. We would want NNPC to submit documentary evidence of waivers gotten from the Ministry of Transport or NIMASA, actual waivers empowering them to award those contracts to the foreign companies. So on that note, if there are no more questions, I would like us to adjourn for 1 week whilst we wait for NNPC to submit documentations before we wrap up this investigative hearing. Meeting stands adjourned to the 30th date of November 2021. And before that date, NNPC, please kindly avail this committee all documentary evidence of waivers received before the award of those contracts. Thank you very much.